remember when being academically talented was celebrated? It doesn't seem to be the thing anymore. Schools are eliminating honors classes for the really smart kids for more one-size-fits-all, all in the name of racial equity. I know, that word again.
I want to talk about equity in education and the importance of allowing schools to teach our children.
One Los Angeles area school district is doing it to, quote, level the playing field, close quote, but parents aren't buying it. And while this equity push is taking center stage, more and more students are falling behind across this country.
I think it's absolute horseshit that advanced classes or honors classes would be canceled. But I find it amazing that Fox News has taken this stance.
You live in this area.
I do live there, the People's Republic of California. So, Culver City is a place I broadcasted out of for years.
You're probably one of those kids that you studied a lot or it came easy and you needed classes that challenged you. Not anymore.
Not only that, my friend, I would argue that while I had certain intellectual abilities, I was somewhat lazy, and it wasn't until I was challenged by competing with people who were truly brilliant and being stuck in those classes, and it changed my life. And then going to a college where that was the basic principle upon which they operated.
It seems like just a couple of weeks ago, they were saying this.
Believe in teaching kids facts and how to think, but we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them.
Study's interdisciplinary course currently being piloted explores the, quote, vital contributions and experiences of African Americans. But the Florida Department of Education is rejecting the course, telling the College Board in this letter that course content is at friction with state law and, quote, significantly lacks educational value.
Now, I believe in equity in education. But tell me this. African American AP Studies was a class that you didn't have to take.
In a statement, State Senator Chevron Jones described it as a whitewashing of history.
You are clearly trying to use that for political purposes.
A federal judge blocked enforcement at the public state university level, calling it positively dystopian.
It was a class that you only chose to take if you made the grade and wanted to do it.
But we don't believe they should have an agenda imposed on them.
And again, just to remind you, this is a choice issue. There's nothing about an AP course that's mandatory for anybody. It has to be parental permission.
So now Fox takes the stance that it's absolutely wrong to cancel these advanced classes because that's not fair to the advanced students.
But what I don't understand is, I ask this question all the time, where are we going? What is the plan? It has never been the case that you bring one group up by bringing another group down. That doesn't work. Where do we go from here, and why equity uber alles?
I find that interesting.
Uber alles. A little pragmatism would tell us that, hey, why don't we take these kids and bring them up as opposed to taking a group down?
Because it seems like Ron DeSantis was punishing those students.
I think it symbolizes the deep hatred that's integrated into this country that still comes to the forefront every day of the government. County, city, state.
Now there's a lot of kids in advanced with honors classes. Hell, they even let me in, if you can believe that. But only a certain number have any desire at all to take AP African American Studies. So, aren't you being unfair to them?
Prominent civil rights attorney Ben Crump says he intends to sue alongside 3 AP high school students. A group gathered in Tallahassee just yesterday of students, parents, and lawmakers expressing their frustration. In response, the governor's office called this intended lawsuit a, quote, publicity stunt, and says it will not consider AP African American Studies until certain elements of the curriculum are removed.
What they're saying, the percentage of Asian kids who are in that honors class is much higher than the other minority kids or the other white kids. So there's too many Asians doing well. That's what hurt them in getting into Ivy League school. They had to sue, and we know where that's in the Supreme Court right now. So what do you do if one ethnic group is doing better than the other?
And of course, Fox says that, you know, it's making it harder for these students to get into college because they're not going to have these advanced classes. Wouldn't it be great to have some AP classes already in the hopper? You're limiting kids' ability to go to college. And in this case, sure seems like a lot of black people.
Because if we don't prevail, we have to understand that this will set a different precedent, that everybody is watching Florida, Texas, Tennessee, Arizona, Virginia. They're all watching, and if they can suppress African American history here in Florida, then they will suppress it in states all across America.
There are immigrants, one of the most vocal groups in Culver City are the immigrant population, who are saying we came here to have a better life for our kids, and you're literally going to pull them down.
And that's why thousands of Florida students walked out this week. Because Ron DeSantis is hurting their ability to get into college. Now, these were college students. But what about the high school students who now have less AP classes available to them in Florida?
I think it just symbolizes like blatant racism. I mean, for a politician to put politics over thousands of students' education is just not fair at all.
Focus on education. Focus on it. So what's going to happen here, people are going to flee these schools, and it's going to increase the inequity between people who are left behind in these schools that are lagging and people that go somewhere else, including the internet, to get their education.
Because if I was a registrar, say at Texas A&M, and I was going to look at some people from Florida, or look at some people from Georgia, and the kids from Georgia seem to have a lot more AP classes, maybe I'll do that. I mean, hell, in Florida, they're gonna send us a bunch of kids who've never even read Lord of the Flies or Animal Farm.
It's a joke. It is not working. So it's not fair.
How could it? That's the thing about so many. I'm sensitive to the desire to have equity. I get it. But the human reality, pragmatic reality tells us this is going to end up bad for, well, particularly for the kids that they're so concerned about.
I grew up in the most right-wing district in America, Amarillo. You can look it up. Actually, it used to be. I think they were beat out by some place in Alabama now. But in Amarillo, highly conservative, right-wing as could be. Even they required us to read Lord of the Flies and Animal Farm. I don't think Texas A&M is going to take any kids from Florida.
You're not allowed to ask anything of anybody. So you can't tell an addict, for instance, who's dying of their progressive disease to come with me, or don't sleep there, or maybe you might want to try something else. You can't say anything to anybody.
Pretty soon they'll just go ahead and ban reading altogether and it won't matter. I'm Zachariah, Lone Star Liberal. Vote Democratic. I'll take it easy.
Response to COVID-19 was devastating to our country, and it's going to be years before we really know the effects and the outcome on our society and especially on our children. What it did to our children's math and reading levels is horrific. Here's what is shocking to me. There are 1,524,481. This is over 1 million, 1.5 million.
I know watching that made my math level drop.
I'm not a doctor.
Fake news.